bridging education and entertainment, telling stories of aspiration. I have with me three stalwarts who are experts in their own right to share their knowledge and insights with all of us. I'll request Ashutosh Chaturvedi, director, writer, Pankaj Mauchi, director, writer, and Anand Singh, director, writer, all three of them to kindly join me over here on stage for this one. Please give them a big, big, big round of applause, everybody over here in this room. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for staying back for so long.
Yes, yes. Plus one on that. Plus two.
Yeah, we are from TVF. अभी दो तीन sessions में I think multiple people have taken our names already. So it feels like people have been warmed up for us. One specific thing we are trying to discuss today is one of the kinds of shows that TVF has been doing very successfully over the past few years. And that is our education themed content. It's not really educative content, but it's shows around education. Somebody in the last panel mentioned Kota Factory. That was the first one of those. Then we made Aspirants and Half CA. We are soon going to come out with a new show, which is around another new student community. We wanted to share the details of that one with you today, but we are a little behind on schedules, as often happens with these things. So we'll be focusing on, the stuff we've already done. Ashutosh and Pankaj, they usually come in a package deal. They are writer-directors, and they have made the new show that's about to come out soon. But they've also worked on one of the big shows that we've done in this field before, which is Aspirants. So I would like to ask you guys first, like, what is it essentially? How do you capture that, essence of the students and the aspirants who are there, which we are representing in a sense? So.
Yeah, so thank you everyone. And the most challenging part about such shows is that it takes a lot of research, a lot of, in the sense that you really need to know the world you want to write about. So while when you're telling a story, it has to be engaging, it has to be dramatic, it has to be entertaining. But the main condition is that it cannot be factually wrong. So even if you are writing about aspirants like me and Pankaj, we have never tried appearing for UPSC, but it was a new subject. But then you have to be very, very meticulous with your research, and that is one thing we have noticed that TVF, why those shows probably resonated with everyone, because they cater to two kind of audiences. One is in general to all of us, one to the core audiences of that particular stream we are talking about. So they are very, very particular, and those are the audiences they really validate when you kind of do your research and you tell something with that kind of intent.
Correct. I think that has been one of the strong points of TVF with shows like this. I think, when you make shows, creative shows and all of that, I think it's a balance between information, which is your research, and instinct. But the creative instincts only start to kick in once you have the entire information. So, the writers on all the shows, be it on this one as well, they spend a lot of time researching on the communities, getting the process, the nuances of it right. And based on that really, really solid foundation of information is when the creative stories are woven in. So I think it's a balance of both.
Next thing I would like to talk about is what do you think, what is the research process like? Because I know, because I've been a part of the organization, but most people don't really know how much research goes into writing a show like this, because like when we were writing Kota Factory, initially the writers were both engineers. They've both came from IITs and they had both gone to Kota for the coaching. So they had lived that life and they knew more or less about it. But they still had to do research to, update themselves, because they had been in Kota 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So they had to do that level of research, that what has changed in Kota from then to now. But like subsequent seasons, there were people who were writing it, were not engineers. And like you guys were writing aspirants who had never given a UPSC exam, which was also the case with the first season. One of the people who developed it had never even tried for it. So the director had actually spent some time doing that whole UPSC thing, but the writers hadn't. So they were based on research essentially. So I would like you guys to, give some input into the research process that goes behind writing something like this.
Yeah, so thankfully, again, I'll take TVF's example only here. Writers do get to travel to a certain place, like point in case that UPSC, Rajendra Nagar, and as aspirants talk a lot about Rajendra Nagar, Mukherjee Nagar, all those pockets in Delhi. So we went to those places and we spoke to some civil servants who we know. So it helps when you meet those real life people, and we met a lot of aspirants also in those streets who've been trying to crack UPSC, how passionate they are, and then you actually kind of you as a storytellers we all have some basic sense of ideas about how a character will struggle and what will be the challenges that particular character will face. But when you go and meet real people, they surprise you with some very, very interesting insights. Those things really make a story very enriching. Pankaj, you would like to add anything?
Yeah. I mean, research is a very intensive process. I mean, not just for the syllabus-based, education-based show. Even if you see like really the fun shows, the comedy shows, they're all inspired from real life. Either great deal of interactions, interviews, even your just the online thing also. So there is a lot of information that is extracted out by the writers, by the directors, by the creative, the creators at TVF. So I think that really helps.
Uh, One more thing that you guys were talking about earlier was how, we have to make them specific and yet general enough to appeal to an audience which might not have, given UPSC or JEE ever. So how do we go about that? To bring in specificity at the same time as being, general enough to appeal to a larger audience which has never seen this world before. What do you think goes into that?
So I think that in India, everybody, I mean, every middle class, lower middle class, all of us basically aspire to, get into some good course, and that is considered as like the means of changing the family's fortune or kind of taking care of the next generation. So cracking any prestigious exam or any such stream is a big dream for a lot of families, and there is a lot of emotion involved there, and that emotion I think is a very universal emotion with a lot of viewers who are probably not aiming for that particular stream, but it connects with a lot of audiences, lot of viewers across. The other aspect I would say, another very interesting thing what we have realized that here we all try to do is the casting of our characters. While they have a certain appeal which connects with larger audiences, but they all look very real, they all look part of our lives, so that also helps in terms of connecting with a lot of viewers. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to begin with any exam-based show or anything that is academic-based show, I mean, it relies on the fact that there is a huge community of students who is there. So, that is represented in the struggle, the specific academic struggle. But beyond that, in India, everything is about the family. So it's not just the student who is struggling. There is a story about the family. He or she carries the aspiration to change their lifestyle, to change their fortune, and the dreams of the families are also associated. And that is where the universal emotion comes in, and that's what we get to play also as we go along with the story.
Just quickly adding to that, even romance for that matter, like anybody who's appearing for any exam, the chances of settling down with a girl or for a girl to settle down with a boy, career plays a very important aspect. So all these things also add up to a very compelling storytelling.
Yeah. So next thing I would like to ask is basically, like you already mentioned, we cast people who look real. Uh, do we have to like? How much did you have to look for people who look real to play the parts?
It is actually a long drawn process, and there is really like a bunch of auditions and everything. I mean, you can say that we are all earlier looking people, let's all go onto the screen, but to sort of, but they're all very charismatic. They come with that skill set to portray the vulnerability, the ambition, the aspiration of the characters that are developed. So the screening, the audition, it's a very long drawn process. It goes through multiple levels of approvals and, sort of, is it working or not, and then it is done. So I think that again is one thing which at the core of TVF is there, because our audience, it is a representation of our audience, because these shows are more relatable, so that factor cannot be compromised. And I think, if I may use the word, that kind of quality check really happens very well at TVF for all the shows, for that
Adding
matter.
to that, it is become a little simplified also in a way, because people like Bhatu, they've been doing it since quite some time, and even all the casting directors who come, they kind of know the space we are looking at. So already that basic filter, I think, with regards to TVF is already there. But yes, I mean, the further process is still also a long process.
Okay. So another thing is, often there is a lot of negative things also attached with this process of, this high pressure environment that is created for such young children. And it is a very, pertinent question that how do we deal with that in our storytelling, because there is a lot of pressure on students, which is there because of the fact that these exams are so important in our society. That is what makes those shows compelling, but also at the same time, how do we deal with all these negative aspects of it? That is something I would like you guys to
I
chip
think
in on.
while we tackle the pressures head on, we don't shy away telling and sharing those struggles of all our characters. But by the end of it, there is a hopeful message in all our stories. We always, and which is the case, which should be the case. Like I think you're talking about Appu, who's directed Apur Singh Karki, who's directed Aspirants. He once tried for UPSC, but then then there is, like, as I mean, that didn't happen, but then he had something else in store, and of course he's happy doing what he's doing. So
I cleared JE, I'm still here.
see, there you go. See, you answered yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there is absolutely. I mean, the point is that the students, they have a lot of things going on, in a lot of positive things, a lot of negative things. There is constant failure that is there, but the fact that ultimately why people, for example, there were, I mean, approximately 24 lakh students. They are appearing for various kind of examinations, 10 lakh, 12 lakh. So there is this sizable number, and all of them are basically hinging on their hope. उम्मीद की कहानी है, तो उसमें हम जितना रियल जा सकते हैं, उसमें हम उनकी जो भी आशाएं हैं जिसके बारे में हम बता सकते हैं, वो हम, that is the perspective that we choose. Ultimately, the hope is the lens that we look at, and there is no denying the fact that there might be other negatives to it also, which we try to touch upon, but primarily it's the story of hope.
And I think all TV stories, they have a mentor character that kind of is there telling you that it's okay, relax, it's okay. There is no shortcut to success, but still it's okay. You can fail. So I think that mentor characters, which we have, great teachers, and there are a lot of role models in our stories, which kind of probably, hopefully, motivate everyone to kind of not get disheartened.
Do you think sometimes these mentor characters could also act like proxies for children who are going through this but don't have a mentor in their lives? Like maybe they look at a Jitu Bhaiya explaining stuff to them and they get some hope from that, right? So
I'd like to add to that, but it's not just a proxy character. These are very real characters. From this is personally our this thing also, and with all the interaction with the writers on the various shows, be it Aspirants or Kota Factory or the other shows and all of that, they have actually met these kind of teachers who are available. They actually wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to take the calls of students and address any issue that they have. So these are not created characters, so to say. I mean, the fictional versions are there to, sort of make them entertaining for the audiences, but the core of it is very real. And these people do exist, this community of very inspiring teachers, they do exist, and yeah.
okay. Another thing, it's some criticism that I think I've seen online why so many shows about so many exams? Do you think you have an answer for that? If you don't, I do.
Please, you answer that.
It's two words: representation matters. So people who have given JE see themselves very much in Quota Factory. Other students see themselves to a certain extent. We started both these shows, Quota Factory and Aspirants, on YouTube, where there is live feedback pretty much. You put the episode online and there is people telling you what they liked, what they didn't like, and they tell you what they want to see in the future. If you still, it's not there on YouTube anymore, it's now on Netflix, but if you had read the comments on Quota Factory, there were people asking us for, when will you make a show about CA? When will you make a show about UPSC? When will you make a show about blank, blank, whatever, right? So it's not just, us saying, ki, haan, this is working, so let's make it. It is actually, there is a demand from those actual communities to see themselves on screen, to see themselves represented, because their struggles are similar to JEE, but they're not exactly the same. There is differences that they would like to see. A commerce student goes through a very different struggle. A CA exam is extremely different from what JEE is. Even the process, the examination itself, it's all very different. Subjects ki to baat hi nahi kar raha main. So that is why I think we keep making these shows, because these populations of students are asking us to make these shows. They want to see themselves on screen, and we are giving them what they want. So that is my answer to my own
And
question.
those comments are real because all the shows are working. Hence, I mean, they really want it. I mean, those are very real comments actually.
Yeah, like the shows have really worked, because for the first seasons, everybody has the numbers. For Quota Factory and Aspirants, they were on YouTube. The numbers were public. They were like 50 million views and stuff like that for both those seasons. Half CA went on Amazon MX Player, it's called now. Sorry.
I love this ghanti. The ghanti is
The class is over. Yeah, Half CA is also one of the most successful shows for Amazon MX Player before it became Amazon MX Player. So all of these shows have done well. We'd like to continue, conclude, because Ghanti baj gayi hai. So I'll just ask you two guys, what can you tell us about the upcoming show without spoiling what it is?
That's a tricky one. आप ही बता दो.
ये आप ही करो.
You guys have made the show, come on. Any guesses? What
किस
would it
बारे में
be?
हो सकता है? आप कुछ guess कर लीजिए भाई लोग. अरे
Nobody.
तुक्का मार लो यार, कोई बात नहीं, तुक्का मार लीजिए.
CA कर लिया हमने already.
हो
Half
गया,
CA
half
हो
CA
गया. Engineering हो गया.
MBA.
Idea है.
अच्छा
Thank you,
idea.
thank you for the idea.
आगे
अच्छा idea.
आगे. Tell us something about the show and what makes it different, maybe, if not.
The only hint I'll give you is that 2024 में तकरीबन 24 लाख स्टूडेंट्स ने ये एग्ज़ाम दिया है. तो ये हमने नहीं बोला है. तो आप देख लीजिए, बहुत अच्छी बात.
समझने वाले समझ गए. So yeah, that's a show that will be coming out soon. It's again a branded show on YouTube. So we've always been very big on doing, brand collaboration shows on YouTube, because often what happens is when we were pitching these kinds of shows to OTTs, they're like, no, we don't understand. Then the first season comes out and becomes successful, and they're all like, give us more seasons of this show. So that's how it works. Anyway, so most of you have an idea of what the show is about. It's going to be out soon on the Girly Appa YouTube channel. We are hoping at least you guys will watch it when it comes out.
Please, yeah.
Apart from the people who are giving the actual exam, that's about. Thank you so much for
Thank
listening.
you so much.